Hey there everyone, Captain Beards here, bringing you another Langrisser Mobile video. Let's get it. Alright guys, this is going to be a top 5 SRs that I think are in the game. Guys, remember this is all my opinion, so don't hold everything that I say to heart and take everything I say here with a grain of salt, because I know some of you guys are probably, your top 5 might be your number 1, or your top 5 or top 1 might not even be on the list. So just take everything here what I say with a grain of salt, and just remember that every SR in this game is actually really good. And honestly, I could put them all in the game and just make them all number 1, because that's how good they are. Like I have yet to go and see one SR in the game that's absolutely terrible. So, and if I could build up all of my SRs, I really would, but resources are a thing. So, but that's not to say Eric here and freaking Silverwolf are bad. No, they're actually really good units too. It's just, like I said, haven't had the ability to let's see, make the space or get the equipment and the items and stuff to really build them up. Another thing too is I'm not gonna put Matthew, Grenier, or Amy on the list just because they do become SSRs. I think all of them. I know Matthew for sure becomes an SSR in the future. And I think Grenier and Amy do too. I'm not too sure, if somebody can confirm with me on that one. So that's why I'm not going to put them in the list. But if it's only Matthew that becomes an SSR, then I will go ahead and talk about Amy and Grenier here. But for now, that's why I'm not going to put them, because technically they become SSRs. So let's get started into number 5. Number 5 is Sophia. Now, the reason why Sophia is number 5 and not like number 1 is because she is a healer support, and she is a fantastic freaking unit, and she can easily be in the number 1 spot, but she truly only has one job, and that's to heal and support. What makes her in this list and what makes her a top 5 spot is the fact that she has that rewind. That rewind can make a huge difference in battle, just being able to reset cooldowns on your allies. Another thing I take into consideration with this top 5 list is how much work you have to put into the unit, right? For her, you only have to go through one path, which is the profit path, and then you're good to go with her. You don't have to unlock anything else. You could just take her straight down, and that's it. You don't have to have any rune investments. Another great thing about having a healer is the fact that you don't really need to buff up their equipment extremely high. Don't get me wrong, obviously I don't have equipment on her because I've been swapping up my equipment. Don't get me wrong, you still want pretty strong equipment on them, but it doesn't have to be insane amounts like you would on your DPS or your tank. So that is why Sophia is in the number 5 spot. She is a fantastic healer, fantastic support, and she definitely deserves to be on this list. Let's move in to number 4. Alright, number 4. Number 4 is Sonya. Now, the reason why some of these characters are in their spots is because there are SSRs that are kind of direct replacements to them that are way better, right? So, for instance, for Sophia can easily be replaced by Tiaras or Liana, because they're just kind of better healers, and they're just better units all the way around, right? That's not to say she's a bad unit. No, you could still use your Sophia and she could still own the crap out of things, right? When it comes to healing and support. Now, Sonya, on the other hand, fan-freaking-tastic unit. I mean, this unit she hits freaking hard, right? She can do a lot of work, but if you have Leon becomes her replacement easily. Now the thing about it is she still has a place being built, right? So don't completely ignore her. Don't say, oh well, now that I have Leon, I don't need to build my Sonya, right? Wrong, right? One vital key here is that Leon is not on the Princess Alliance team, which means that if you ever need to just run pure princesses, you can strip Leon's gear and throw it right on your Sonya, and then you're good to go, which is absolutely phenomenal, right? So do understand that, guys, that Sonya is a great unit, and even Dark Reincarnation. You could take Leon's gear off and put it on Sonya so you can run her in the Dark Reincarnation. She has high mobility, she has high damage, and just the amount of work that she can put in for you is just, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. As an SR, she's really freaking good. Great DPS, beautiful DPS, right? So that is number 4. Let's go ahead and get into number 3. Number 3 is Vargas. Now, I know a lot of you guys would say this guy is number 1 or at least number 2. Well, remember, this is my list. These are my opinions, and I would have to say Vargas definitely number 3 for me personally. I don't take nothing from him. When I see him in PvP, it's an absolute freaking nightmare. Like, this guy, fighting him in PvP is a nuisance. It really is. But he does get hurt by magic defense, right? So if you hit him with some magic shots, that can really take him down, which makes him kind of vulnerable. Now, the thing about Varg though is just the ability to get killed and then come back to life makes him really freaking strong. And on top of that, he just has a bunch of defense buffs, right? If heavy shield procs off, it's stupid. It really is. And that's it's a 25% chance, and that chance has a tendency to kick off quite a bit. So heavy shield is almost his bread and butter. Obviously, Unbreakable Guardian is bread and butter here, but heavy shield is just it's amazing. It's an amazing move here. Another thing with Varg, and same thing with Sonya, is there are also units that can just straight path it, go straight to the Royal Vanguard. You can have the option to open up Brave and then take them back to the Royal Vanguard, but I wouldn't recommend it. The rune investment is just not worth it, especially on these SRs. Definitely go into the Royal Vanguard and then you're good to go with Varg. He's a fantastic unit. Probably the best or strongest tank in the game, said to be. So definitely take nothing from him, guys, because if you got your Varg, build him up. You will not regret it. Me personally, I didn't really build him up too much because I'm going to be honest with you guys, my Empire's Honor team and my Strategic Masters team just doesn't, I just don't have the space for Varg. I really don't. Like, as good as he is, I got very fortunate and very lucky to pull a lot of units, so I really don't have the space to run him on any of my teams, unfortunately. But he is a fantastic unit. That is your number 3. Let's move in to number 2. And number 2, you probably guessed it, it is Freya. Now, Freya, a lot of people argue with me on this part, and they say Freya is not as good as Varg. Varg is a million times better. Freya's barbs don't proc off against bosses, blah 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 blah. Well, guess what? Sometimes it's not about bosses, right? Sometimes it's just about PvP, right? Where if you hit Varg, you know, his counter, he doesn't really have any barbs. He doesn't have any of that stuff, right? When you hit Freya, if you build her right with certain equipment like mirror armor, where it's gonna reflect damage back, and then on top of that you have her barb that procs off, and on top of that you have the lance that if you have on, it's gonna proc barb too. So, and on top of that she has heavy shield. It can get really busted, right? You go ahead and have Leon attack Freya in PvP, and not only is he gonna take the aftermath of damage, it's just gonna be so freaking much. It's just gonna be insane, guys. And on top of that, she destroys anybody that tries to crit her, right? Chance of being critically hit reduced by 40%. That means if somebody goes and hits her built upon crits, they're going to have a 40% chance that they're not going to be critting, which is insane, guys. On top of that, not to mention that her talent itself does damage. So sorrowful choice. So guys, understand that that's why Freya is number 2 and not number 3. That's why I think Freya is better. Yes, her moves can't proc off against bosses, but apparently we are supposed to get a patch or a buff that allows her moves to proc off against bosses. But other than that, I still think even without that, she still is number 2, almost at number 1 for me. Seriously, like, she's almost there, just because those barb procs are insane, guys. When you hit 2,000 damage from Sorrowful Choice, then freaking 1,800 damage from Barb 1, then 1,800 damage from Barb 2, yeah, that's a lot of freaking damage on top of whatever she's gonna counterattack or whatever. So, and on top of that, guys, of course, like the others, she does not have to have both paths open. And another thing that makes her number 2 is that she holds the Origins of Light fusion power. Now, it's not as strong as the other, has Juggler and Diehard, but still, she still holds a fusion power buff, going straight into her tanking state. And she just got a magic defense tanking state. So if you do have Freya and you take her down the Valkyrie route, you can make her a magic defense tank, which is pretty cool. It's not going to be as good as the Royal Vanguard tank, but I think it's still pretty good, and that's a pretty nice option that you got there. So if you do want to invest the runes, do note that if you invest the runes in her Valkyrie state, you are going to have to invest in probably some new equipment too, just because they kind of run separately, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. But you can take her down the Royal Vanguard and be all set right there. And also, you can actually start running some Origins of Light members with her, just because she does hold the fusion power. So that is definitely number 2 for me, Freya, without a doubt. And also, she has cool Spartan armor, so that's going for her. Number 1 is Chris. Now, it had to be, right? I have to say, and I've said this before, I said it in my Chris character guide, and I say it quite a bit. Chris does not deserve to be an SR. She deserves to be an SSR. Her stats may not touch the SSRs, but I think just her kit, her build in general, is SSR worthy. I mean, this girl is freaking tastic. The only negative of Chris, and literally this is the only negative of Chris, is that she is not on all of the factions, right? She's on Protagonist, she's on Legion of Glory, and she's on the Princess, which I think she fits on all of those quite well. But you know what? They should have just thrown in Empire's Honor and the Dark Reincarnation and Origins of Light, because that would have just been phenomenal. But other than that, that's pretty much her only weakness. Same thing with upgrade class section here. You can go straight to the Valkyrie and then you're all set. I've seen people open up Princess. I really don't know why. I mean, the spell's not too bad. But yeah, I really don't know why you would open up Princess. It's just unnecessary. Same thing with Priest. Super unnecessary, so don't even worry about that. Go straight to the Valkyrie, guys, because this is where your bread and butter is, right? Look at this. You have a move that not only deals a great amount of freaking damage, but it's also going to heal, right? Restores 20% HP. Melee soldiers also attack. So it has a range, but it gets your melee soldiers involved. On top of that, you got Faith, which is a passive. Don't even have to activate it. When attacking, increases damage dealt by 15%. After battle, restores 2 times the caster's int as HP to the friendly unit with the lowest HP. So she's just going to heal just from attacking, right? Building her on int, guys, that's very important. And then on top of that, you got Redemption, which is like another discipline, but a little bit better here. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.5 times damage. After battle, heals all allies, except for her, of course, for 2 times her int. Melee soldiers also attack, so it's another range shot, or it could be a melee shot, doesn't matter, it's up to you. But she heals all the allies. So everything Chris does is going to heal. Every single freaking thing, which is insane. Now, if you guys wanted something else, a little bit more AoE, you wanted to strip a little bit, then you can easily replace Discipline for Retribution, which deals 0.3 times AoE damage to all enemies within 2 blocks, and also dispels 2 buffs. So if you're dealing with people in PvP that are buffed up, you throw on Retribution, and then you are good to go. Put her in there, hit them with Retribution, dispel those buffs, and you are nice and good to go. Her soldiers, she has access to a good amount of soldiers, nothing too crazy here, and her equipment builds can be quite insane. Obviously I need to level these up, but running Full Moon, Rough Sea, whatever you want to run on her, you could just run pretty much anything. Magic is a good one because she's consistently using skills, so that's one thing to think about, guys. Instead of running Full Moon, you could run the magic set on her. But Chris being number 1 is just because she not only supports the team, she not only heals the team, but she can hold her own in damage too. I've seen Chris just take on the dragon easily, just because she's not only just hitting the dragon hard, but she's just healing up the squad too. And that heals can make a huge difference. But she's just better than Sophia because, yeah, Sophia is going to heal more, like as in like when it comes to the amount of heals that come out of Sophia, yeah, it's going to be more, but can Sophia hit like a freaking truck and heal at the exact same time? That's not going to happen, right? So that is easily why Chris is number one. And on top of that, she just got a dope ass cat skin. So if you guys are into the whole cats, yeah, you can go for that skin. But other than that, that is why your Chris is number one. So let's make a couple honorable mentions here. Honorable mention number one is definitely going to be the Queen. Where's she at? Right here, the Queen. The Queen is an honorable mention because she's a fantastic unit too. She has great support, great heals, and she can be a very strong damage dealer. But the Queen really shines when you open up all her paths. And by all her paths, I mean the Bishop and the Oracle, right? You don't need to worry about Swordsman, but you can go ahead and open up the Oracle and the Queen path, and then she can really freaking shine for you. But investing the runes in an SR is quite difficult. Hein is another honorable mention, but he's mainly used for his teleport ability. I think that's pretty much why you're going to use Hein, but he can be a great mage damage dealer, so do not count him out, guys. Kirikaze, great damage dealer too. Egghead, great debuffer and support, so very good unit. Don't count him out either. Another honorable mention I would have to say would have to be Lifany. Those bombs can be quite busted, so do not neglect your Lifany, guys. She was very close to being on this list. If I had to say, honestly, if I had to rearrange the list a little bit, I'd kick Sophia out because she's a healer and support, so maybe she shouldn't be on the list. And I put Lifany in the 5th spot just because she can be very deadly, so do not count her out. Narm is an excellent unit, so don't count her out either. Like I said, all the SSRs, all the SRs in the game are really good, and do not neglect any of them. Take my list with a grain of salt, guys, because you know it is what it is, and it's just because of how I use my units and stuff like that. So recap here: number 5 is Sophia, number 4 is going to be Sonya, number 3 is going to be Vargas, number 2 of course is Freya, and number 1 is Chris. I should switch number 1 and number 2. Other than that, guys, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's your boy Captain Beards, and as always, stay positive. Peace out.